Hello everyone, welcome to the material for TOEFL preparation, and the topic for this video will be about listening comprehension. Still for part A, and the specific topic will be about listening for negative expressions. So we'll check the material for this video. So a bit of introduction to the material listening for negative expressions. Question in part A may contain negation or negative expressions. The answers are usually a restatement of the expressions, and a restatement expresses the same idea as the statement. So restatements, many times restatements are actually not in the same sound like what is mentioned in the text or in the listening. So we'll check the strategy. Now the strategies for listening for negative expressions, so I will divide into three. There are negative expression, double negative expression, and almost negative expressions. So when it is negative expression, what you may find is something like using not, or also expressions that are using negative, like for example in, im, on, or this. Okay, so I have some of the words over here to indicate that it is the negative form. Okay, so inexpensive has the same meaning with cheap or not expensive. Impossible, not possible, unsure, not sure, or not certain. Dishonest, same meaning with not honest. And then something like nothing went wrong has the same meaning with everything went right. Okay, so that's the example for the negative expressions. Now, how about double negative expressions? So double negative expression is something like this. So when you say this is not inexpensive, so it means that it is expensive or it is pricey, because double negative, not and in, indicates the word this one. Okay, so the same thing like not impossible, so not and im, then the meaning will be impossible. So for example, if I say this is not impossible to be done, meaning that it is actually possible to be done. Okay, so that's for double negative. And then the last one is the expression for almost negative expression. So something like barely, scarcely, hardly, rarely, and seldom. So for example, if I say to you, I barely can eat. So I ate, but I actually ate just a little bit. Okay, so it doesn't mean that I don't eat, but I eat only a little bit. Something like that. Okay, so that's the meaning of almost negative expressions. So we're going to look at the examples one by one. So let's see the strategy. So the first one is pay attention to the second speaker line. Usually the answer is the restatement or a synonym of word or phrases. And then do not choose an option with a word or phrase that sounds similar. So similar sound is not an option to choose, because it actually is what we call that, a diversion, and you don't want to choose that, because usually it will have a different meaning from the one that is intended in the listening. And then the last one is pay attention to the second speaker's line containing the negation. Usually the answer is an affirmative sentence that means the same as the line. So let's check the examples one by one. So the first one is pay attention to the second speaker's line. Usually the answer is in the form of restatement or is a synonym of a word or phrase. So for example, how long will it take to go to the store by walking? I am not sure. So I'm not sure or I'm unsure has the same meaning with it is uncertain. Okay, so it is the synonym towards the word not sure. Okay, so that's the example of a restatement. Now we will look at the second example. Do not choose an option with a word or phrase that sounds similar. So similar sound doesn't actually mean that that's the answer. Okay, because it may have different meanings. So for example, there is a script over here. I heard that Jake had just moved into a new apartment. And the woman said, that's impossible. He doesn't have a cent. So what does he doesn't have a cent mean? Means that he has no money. Okay, so it equals with no money at all. So that means it is unlikely for this person to move to a new apartment, and that's what the woman thinks. Okay, so the woman mean that so there's an option. Jake has no sense of responsibility. Jake has sent his friend to his apartment. Jake cannot afford to rent the apartment, and Jake is on the side with the woman. So what happens if you don't have money? You actually, my assumption is you cannot afford to rent an apartment. So this actually is the best answer. However, I want to show you the similar sound that is provided in these options. So for example, when you hear the word he doesn't have a cent. So cent may also sounds similar with cents. A cent and cents. And then cent, the word over here. And then set. Okay, so this similar sound may actually confuse you because, oh, I heard this in the text, I heard this in the listening, maybe that's the answer. But actually, it's the other way around. Okay, so those are the strategies that you need to know for the listening for negative expression. Now, for the last strategy for listening for negative expression is we're going to focus on the second speaker's line that contains negation. So usually the answer is an option with an affirmative sentence that means the same as the line. But you also need to pay attention to the double negative or the almost negative form as well. So the first one is, for example, there's a script over here. What was the price of the trilogy of the novel? Oh, I spoke to the bookstore manager and he said it was inexpensive. So the clue over here, because he was asking for the price, okay, because he was asking for the woman was asking for the price and the man said it was inexpensive. Therefore, we can actually take a conclusion that the price was inexpensive. So which one of these options are actually having the same meaning, or the restatement of the price was inexpensive or the price was cheap? So let's have a look. A, the price of the book was expensive. This is actually the contrary of the answer. So no. The man works as a bookstore manager. It doesn't say like that. The price of the book was cheap. Yeah, we find this one. And then the man bought the book. It was not mentioned whether the man actually bought the book or not, but the man found the price was actually cheap. So the answer is C. Okay, so that's the answer for the question in example 3, part A. And then we'll have a look at the next one. Woman, I heard Dennis has been offered the manager's job. But the man said, oh, he hardly has any work experience. Then what does it mean? So he hardly has any work experience. What does it similar to? So let's have a look. Dennis hasn't worked hard. Dennis' experience has been hard. Dennis' job as manager is hard. Or Dennis hasn't worked for very long. So if we combine to the previous skill about a similar sound, so it says about hard, hard and hard. While the answer is actually not really that one. The answer is actually saying about he hardly has any work experience. It means that he doesn't have, or he didn't really actually have plenty of work experience. So meaning Dennis hasn't worked for very long. So the answer for this question is going to be D. Dennis hasn't worked for very long. Okay, so that's the strategies for negative expression, everyone. Here are the references for the video for today. Thank you very much.